Hey guys, this is us again. We are sitting down with the MKX balance patch changes. We're going to be chatting about all of them. It's not going to be as in depth as our Triborg video because we do want this to be a little bit quicker because that was pretty long. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about the gameplay changes first, and then we're going to go over the character specific changes with a couple of our little thoughts as to what we think of those changes. So immediately, the game has been flipped around with how defense works, how stamina works, how reversals work, just everything has been changed. We're going to list these gameplay fixes first. Increased energy cost to run and increasing the energy cost to cancel into a dash. Basically, long story short, the stamina system has been slightly altered. Running is no different in terms of how you do it and all that stuff, but if you try and run cancel, if you try and dash cancel, if you run into someone in general, it all costs more stamina now. So you're not going to be able to just run from full screen into a button because not only does it cost more stamina to go into that run, but if you are hit while running, it will drain 50 energy, which is basically an entire one of your 2 bars. What that means is, if you're just going to try and blindly run into someone from full screen, like some people try at the moment, they will basically lose all of their stamina and will be either unable to break, or if they're against a zoning character, will get sent full screen again and have absolutely no stamina to deal with it. So they're going to have to hold that zoning until they get their stamina back, and then they're going to have to be patient. So I'm a big fan of these stamina changes. Do you want to go over the rest?
Yes, sure. So let's have a look. Where are we ended? 'Cause this is
Increased
a
hurt
long old
regions.
list. Okay, right.
The anti-air buff.
Aerial attacks now activate where they can be hit 1 frame before the hit region activates. So you can actually hit them before the jumping comes out a little bit more consistently now, which is really good for anti-airs across the board. A counter message will now come up whenever you punish something. So if you cleanly punish a move, it will come up with counter in the bottom to let you know that you timed your punish correctly, which is good for training mode or just general, mid-match, know that your timing is on point. This is a good one. Delayed wake up will no longer activate if your block button is being pressed or held while you're currently holding down. So you won't get delayed wake up if you're currently, holding the block button, which is if you're trying to use wake up teleport with Kung Lao, wake up stomp with Goro, even wake up flame burner with Sector. I can see this helping out with.
This is what I mentioned.
It's going to be a bit of a quality of life improvement.
Well, this is what I mentioned in the Triborg video where I said this is a good change to Sector because it means that you're less likely to accidentally get delayed wake up when trying to do meet and flame burner, which is one of his main problems. This change will actually help that. You are no longer able to use specific timing to avoid recovery frames on some jump attacks which used weapons. It's basically just nerfing general jump-ins where the character will use their weapon in the jump. It's basically just nerfing jump-ins further in this regard. Reduced the victim block stun along with attacker block recovery on many moves, keeping the same plus or on block advantage.
So this is for those attacks that seems to have the frame data was correct and moves were a certain negative on block and stuff like that. But some moves like some of the War God Kotal Kahn attacks had some really weird, almost like staggered block stun to them, where you had to let go of block at a certain time or move at a different time to a lot of attacks, which made it quite hard to punish certain things, which was very frustrating. So again, another quality of life upgrade to just make things a little bit more cleaner and consistent across the board. This is a nice, general change to not really a buff or a patch or anything per se, but basically all the items from the MKX mobile game will now unlock automatically to anyone that's playing the game. So if you never played the mobile game but always wanted Injustice Scorpion or Farmer Jax or anything, or the player cards, icons or borders and stuff, you'll now get those automatically, which is really cool. Now let's get into the brunt of this list. And like we said, we are not going to be super in depth. We're just going to give a little bit of context to these changes based on what we've seen.
First things first, though. Yes, the one everyone wanted to see.
Starting off with the big one.
Alien nerfs. Pretty much all nerfs right here, which we all pretty much expected. But the alien-specific nerfs, there's a lot of these, and we're going to go into them. So, one change to Conjurer. And the first of all, there's only been one change to Conjurer. There was a really, really weird, bug where Conjurer's drop would do 40% damage if it traded with a projectile. That's gone. That's basically the only change. But universal changes. Attacking with the tail, alien will have an extended hurt region. Basically means that all tail normals will have a hurt box on them, which means alien won't be able to risk-free chuck out these limbs and have no risk there. He'll get tagged by Scorpion Hellfire. He'll get tagged by...
Going into too much detail, we don't have
No,
that
no,
infinite amount of time.
I'm just saying, like, basically, long story short, a big nerf is that the tails have a hurt box, and that's a big deal. They have hurt box now. Fixed an issue with Alien stuck in hurt regions, basically just nerfing his hitbox again, so he's not as free to get away. They've increased the startup frames of his towards back kick, so the forward 4, I believe, the overhead. Adjusted increased hurt regions during the extra range of jumping attacks. Again, just a nerf to how hard he is to hit. Tail slam no longer has armor. This is the first big change. His meter burn flip doesn't have armor anymore. It will still launch the opponent on a 50-50 because it is still overhead, I believe, but it is not an armored reversal. On top of that, they've also nerfed the startup time of those moves. They are more unsafe on block, significantly more unsafe on block, and the hitbox of that flip is also smaller, so it's not going to catch you in these obnoxious situations, and it's going to be harder to punish, easier to punish on meterless, because it's now unsafe when you do the meterless one, which is a big deal, and the meter burn one is bloody unsafe, massively unsafe. So just generally, all it really is, long story short, Alien is significantly more unsafe, and he's lost his armored launcher of the flip. Acidic has been changed in that the acid blood doesn't OTG juggle opponents if they're in the air. Fixed an issue with the acid damage over time was not stacking properly, so the stacking has also been nerfed, so there's not as much obnoxious damage. And the acid blood, instead of doing 1% damage, it now does 3%. So if you're going to use that excessively, that damage will amp up. In my opinion, I actually would like to have seen acid blood do 5%. I would like to have seen it done way more, because the reward on that is so high. I personally would have liked to see a couple more bits of damage on that, but it is what it is. Tarkatan, big changes here. The Chop Blades is now 2 hits of armor, so that's a good armored reversal that you will only get with Tarkatan, from what Paolo said. Has not got armor on the meter burn launcher, so again, his meter burn launcher has no armor as well, and this is the biggest change for Tarkatan. When you do the wreckers, you can delay the wreckers as normal if you meter burn. If you don't meter burn, you have to just fully commit. So the only mix-up of Tarkatan Rush will come from the final hit, of which there are gaps, and some of the options are unsafe. So in general, Alien is more unsafe, easier to punish, happy days.
Alright, Joe, another big change across the board. Universally, his forward dash has been sped up, which is great. His run starts up quicker, and his backdash has been improved. So across the board, mobility improvements, which is something he really could benefit from, which would be great. This is a very good bug fix, which unfortunately happened far too often. Sometimes when you stunned your opponent in the fart cloud, they could block. You would stun them, and they could just block straight away. Not sure why it happened, but
it was something to do with if they got hit by the fart on like the final frame or something.
Yeah, but basically it's been fixed. That's the important thing.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of his special moves now have 2 hits of armor, which is great for him. Adjusted the hit region of tumble kicks and monkey flips to hit more consistently. I'm not sure if you guys remember some of the stuff we've done. Unfortunately, yeah. So the monkey flips could unfortunately sometimes completely.
Oh, your mic's gone off. I believe it might have come out. But basically what he's saying is the monkey flips had these weird hitbox things that just go through.
Headset cable and pulled out.
Yeah, but I chose monkey flips would go through people, and it was pretty dumb.
Dragon's Breath changes. Up fire and meter burn fire now destroy most projectiles, which is great. This is a weird thing. Fixed a bug where fire breath could trade with a summoned fiend. Not quite sure. I never really saw that.
I'm assuming if you summon Fiend and Dragon Breath, they just trade.
Probably,
really
yes.
Weird.
And his upfire now recovers faster. This is great because combine this with his better mobility, Dragon's Breath isn't going to have as much of a hard time against projectile characters anymore, which is great for him because they went out of their way to mention that his aggression and his rushdown is going to be the same. So Dragon's Breath particularly could be very, very powerful. Drunken Master, his spinning hammers now has 2 hits of armor, which is the only Drunken Master change. But again, 2 hits of armor, that's going to mean that he's not going to just get rushed down or meaty for free. Because he can just get out of that. Bartitsu had a couple of changes. His spinning cane and his spinning slam now recover faster on whiff. Like the fire breath, his spinning cane will also destroy projectiles, which helps him against zoners. He has 2 hits of armor as well on snag and cane, and he can now perform the code brutality while using Bartitsu. Apparently that was a thing before, but that's all good for Boraicho, and that's it. So all in all, Boraicho is looking very, very powerful.
So Cassie not changed massively. It was mainly the universal game changes that have affected her, because sprinting in with her speed and range on things like her forward two were a big part of playing Cassie. So the changes to the stamina and mobility options have affected her more than some other characters. But towards forward kick now has 20 startup frames, basically slower normal. So that's basically all it is. Slower normal, and her getaway flip, it has more recovery frames as well. So slightly slower in two little areas, and it was just the mechanical changes that have affected her there. The next one here is Devourer, another interestingly changed character. So they've just fixed a bug causing a head collision to get smaller while running. Just basic change. Spawn Puddle is now plus 12 on block. So her Insect Puddle is not as block as it was and has reduced pushback. So it's going to be easier to deal with, I suppose, up close, and it's not going to be as plus as it was. Spawning Pool, I'm assuming, is the meter burn one. The meter burn one has only 5 extra plus frames than the meterless version used to. So basically her Insect Puddle was nerfed across the board. Her forward two, that's her old overhead, right? That's now a mid, so she's not going to have safe 50-50s anymore, I don't believe.
She still has an overhead in forward 3. It's just you can react to that a lot easier, and she doesn't get quite as much of it. She's not going to get a full standing confirmed into 2-1-2. She's still going to get a launcher in forward 3-4 if she wants to, but again, that's not something you want to just be dialing into, because she is going to be nowhere near as safe as she used to be.
They've done some nice Broodmother changes. Reduced the recovery of Bug Blast. So basically, they've reduced some of her recovery, and they've reduced her damage scaling as well, which is going to nicely help her combo damage. Reduced the block stun of Bug Blast. So basically, they've buffed the hell out of her Bug Blast to make it safer, more damage, and faster recovery. So it's going to be better full screen. Reduced damage of Bug Bomb and Crawler, and Enhanced Bug Bomb no longer sometimes visually saves on the screen. So basically, a couple of bug fixes, but more importantly, just giving her better recovery and better damage. Swarm Queen was probably the one that was changed the most. They've actually changed, not only have they changed her Vortex Swarm, it's plus 3 on block. Swarm Queen's Insect Lift is plus 3, down from plus 22. She is in combination with Insect Lift not being as plus on block, and the run cancel and the stamina changes where it costs more stamina to run cancel. Swarm Queen has been massively hit by this, not even including the fact that she can't run cancel on overhead anymore to be safe. She's been nerfed quite heavily.
Saying that, Venomous has lost the bug spray. It has been replaced with a new attack called Bug Burst. So the down forward one, which used to be the restand acid spray, which gave her ridiculous plus frames and good chip damage, has been replaced by Bug Burst, which is a projectile. The meter burn version is armored, and they went out of their way to mention it is safe armor. However, I'm really not sure. I've not been a Venomous player for 2 years. I played it for about a week or two when the game first came out, and I never looked back. However, I really can't get a read on what Venomous is supposed to do now.
This is one of those time will tell situations. We really don't know what's going to happen.
Now, next character, we have Ermac, a character a lot of people were looking for significant changes. I know some players wanted him to be left alone, some players wanted him to be nerfed into the ground, but let's see what they've done for him. His Force Port, when done as a wake-up attack, has lost its armor, so he no longer has wake-up armor on the teleport. Forward 4 is now 16 frame startup instead of 12, and is more punishable on block and does 5 damage. Increased combo scaling on Force Lift and Tele Lift, so that is going to scale harder. Reduce the block stun of Air Soul Blast by 10 and reduce the pushback, so Air Soul Blast is not going to be as free of an attack, I suppose, anymore. His Up Soul Blast has lost some hit advantage. His, I believe... is that back 1-2? Is front punch, back punch? I think so I think that's his back 1-2 is now plus 15 on hit, down from minus 23.
I believe one of the changes to that is the ability to not let him necessarily go for that restand situation into an overhead, because if you notice, it's now plus 15. The away forward punch and back punch is now plus 15, and his overhead is now 16 frames. So there is going to be a little bit of a window there for you to get out of the overhead if he does it.
Mystic, reduce the pushback on Levitate. So I assume that's the Levitate Slam. Mystic fixed a bug where if Ermac was hit... Okay, so they...
The life drain is no longer a thing.
On Levitate? Oh no, Levitate is the... by the sound of things, Levitate is the push. It's the meter burn push. So meter burn push lost the bug where it would infinitely regen him health. Meter burn push has less pushback now, which is good. increased combo damage scaling on a lot of Mystic specials basically, so he doesn't get as much damage. Master of Souls has increased scaling on his Soul Ball, so again, Master of Souls will be the same, he just won't do as much damage. And Spectral Charge has 2 hits of armor, and Force Port and Soul Blast while hovering no longer has armor. So Spectral can now be your go-to option if you need that reliable armor, especially considering the Teleporter has now lost it. But it does seem to, again, have kind of, I suppose, brought all the Ermac variations a bit closer to each other.
So Eron Black up next. This is interesting. Towards forward punch now is 23 frames. That's his overhead, right? His forward one?
That's a significant slowdown on his forward one.
Much slower, yeah. Any aspect of a 50-50 has somewhat been removed there by making his forward one, I think, reactable. Used to be 16 frames, now it's 23. Meter Bend Slide has 2 hits of armor to maintain consistency. Again, just to give him... I mean, that's going to be useful. All 3 variations will have that double hitting armor, so that's going to be decent. But big change to Outlaw. Nerfed significantly in that his Sand Throw doesn't have armor anymore. He does not have a full combo reversal anymore in Outlaw. Sand Throw is now -5 on block with increased pushback. So it's going to be safe on block, I believe. If it's -5, it's going to be safe. But it's not going to have armor, so his only reversal will come from that slide now. Big change. Ferritor, minimal changes. Reduce the blocks on a Ferritor, sauce by 10 frames. And reduce the pushback to make it, I think, less obnoxious in the corner, I think is the big change there. And the only other change was that no changes to Ruthless or Vicious. Lackey, the taught uppercut, no longer has armor. So Lackey does not have that safe armored reversal in the uppercut. He's not going to get a full combo on block and be pretty much safe on... full combo on hit and then be safe on block.
It was, just to correct, it was definitely not safe on block.
Oh no, that's why I said more. I want to say more safe, but then I got sort of tongue twisted.
It seems that the big adjustment here is you will use the meter burn uppercut to extend your standing damage. So if you find yourself catching a back 1-2-1 or a 1-1,
yeah, for sure,
you will be able to use meter burn uppercut to turn it into a launcher, or you can use it mid combo to extend your damage a bit. And so you're going to be able to use this to turn your standing mids into 40%. It's just not going to be a reversal, but it looks like he's still going to have the armor in his roll and his charge, so I don't think he's going to be suffering too much. It's just he's lost that reversal, which actually launches. Goro changes. Oh my word, there are indeed. Yes. General, it looks like some of his strings and his normals have across the board been increased or sped up, which is great for him because he already had amazing normals. Now it's even better. Increased the range of his, I believe his big leg, it looks like. Removed some recovery frames. His projectile now starts up a lot quicker. His meter bend projectile starts up quicker, and they both have less recovery frames. They're a bit more reliable. His fist flurry now does all 6 hits on block. Now this is a big change. Punch walk is now -12 on block across the board. So it does all 6 hits, so you still build a ton of meter for doing punch walk on block. However, you now need to meter burn punch walk on block to not only make it safe, but actually make it a little bit plus, apparently. However, if you do not meter burn punch walk, you are now going to be -12. So you can't just dial in punch walk for free after anything. You now have to be a little bit more calculated with throwing the move out there. But Goro builds a ton of bar anyway, so you can still use the bar to get that. We don't know what it's going to be like after the punch walk on block. He could be ridiculously scary, but only time will tell. Chest charge now has... Hang on, fist flurry now pops the opponent up, but can still be enhanced. So I think this is one of those moves that you can meter burn to launch, but won't by itself anymore. So you need to enhance the end of punch walk to make it launch. Now some specific changes. Quartan Warrior, chest charge now has 2 hits of armor. Again, consistent with a lot of other changes. Dragon Fangs now has a couple of changes. Dragon Spin no longer has armor. But 2 hits of armor on Piercing Fang, 2 hits of armor on Shokan Massacre.
Again, that's got to remain consistency. The launching move is now not got armor, but the reversal moves do still have 2 hits. He's pretty much covered in armor really across the board. As you can see, the Tiger Fury is the same. Armor has been adjusted. The launching version hasn't got armor, and the regular versions, which you would use as a reversal, now have 2.
We have so many notes left to go.
I've been reading. I'm going to skim over these Jacqui ones because I don't need to actually elaborate. She's been nerfed extremely heavily right here. A lot of her plus frames have been toned down. We don't need to go over all these. What you need to know is that across the board, her Force charge, she has got a double hitting armored reversal, again to maintain consistency, but full auto, increased combo damage scaling on a lot of her stuff, and her pressure tools, which used to be plus and now minus, but not punishable, but minus. Her extreme plus frames, being like her rocket power, used to be plus 28, is now plus 7. So big nerfs to her plus frames and damage on full auto. Shotgun nerfed incredibly heavily. Double barrel now -1, used to be -5, but her low blast is now unsafe on block, but it used to be safe. Now it's unsafe, so you're not going to be able to do just 50-50 into blast and be safe. Combo scaling on it anyway if it connects. Low blow now +9 on hit, and it used to be +39. So basically, her mix has been completely taken down. Nowhere near as plus as she used to be, and it's the same on high tech. So long story short, Jacqui Briggs still probably going to do good damage, but I don't think there's anywhere near as much for free as she used to have, and that's all been taken away. Definitely hit very hard as a character, but we have Jason up next. I'm guessing he's going to, as we can see here, a lot of armor changes.
His down 1 is -4 on block instead of -2, so should be less mashable now, fingers crossed. Choke Slam and Temple Slam now have 2 hits of armor. Shoulder Charge has 2 hits of armor.
Relentless Teleport, 3 hits of armor. That's insane. Shoulder
push, and now recovers a little bit slower and it scales harder. So I'm not sure if those big corner BMBs will work the same way as they used to. Relentless's Teleport now has 3 hits of armor. It's going to be very hard to lay into Jason in Relentless if he's got that stocked.
This is a very interesting...
It is. Because basically Jason is covered in armor now, like straight up, just completely covered in lots of armor. Unstoppable will now resurrect when he's killed properly by Predator. I guess that was a bug fix. And another bug fix where you could lose a round if he had damage over time. So bug fixes to Unstoppable, adding armor to basically everything and nerfing his down 1.
Jax. We just talked about his dash punch, right? The first change. Dash Fist, which is his meter burn punch, cannot be changed into the launching overhead if the armor is hit. So if the armor is procced, he will not get the launching properties of that dash punch. Changing Dash Fist to downward Dash Fist will remove its armor. So if you change it into the fist, it will lose armor before it connects. Again, that's a huge change. Trying to keep his dash punch as a reversal, but you cannot make it launch. That's basically what they've changed. Gotcha Beatdown hasn't got armor anymore, so again, removing armor on the launching things or those that would knock up. +1 on block, used to be +2. That's a change right there. Heavy weapons, fixed a bug where Jax will be holding the rocket launcher in his hand during his X-ray. Pumped up, got you extreme, now has 2 hits of armor. So basically, Jax, the only thing that's been changed about him is how his reversals work to maintain consistency with the rest of the game. It does
mean you will pick pumped up if you need 2 hits of armor, which could be something quite significant. Johnny Cage, Johnny Cage.
He's pretty interesting now.
Meter burn, flip kick, and that punch do not have armor anymore. They're purely used for launching purposes, it seems, and the restand. Eclipse kick seems to have 2 hits of armor. I'm pretty sure that's the straight kick. Ultra flip kick is now -1 on block, so it's safe and has increased pushback, but doesn't have the armor anymore. Fisticuffs, you can fist bump can be enhanced, which can cancel. Basically, you can meter burn fisticuffs buff and 2-in-1 cancel it into something else. So this could give him some cool combo potential because you can meter burn fisticuffs buff and go into a string from there, which could be quite cool.
Probably going to give him some new mix. I'm assuming you can. What if you cancel into it quite early and then do the buffed version of the 2-1-2-1-2-1-2-1-2? Do you know what I mean? Like I'm assuming unless they've scaled it, there might be an element of being able to get some nice damage off that now because you're going to just cancel straight into it, right? And that should be quite interesting.
Okay, so stunt double. You'll retain your armor if you've got mimics up, which is good for him because he now has that full screen armored option.
I'm reading the next one.
Reduce the block stun of shadow kick while mix. Okay, so you've lost some block stun on stun double. So stunt double seems to be more of a aimed at being a bit more of a long range variation, which to be fair was kind of its intended use the whole time. So a bunch of stunt double straight up, close point blank nerfs, but some buffs to his long range game, which is cool for him. A-list added 5 frames before a dash cancel is active if a move is charged during the opponent's block stun. A-list, this combined with the overall stamina change, A-list could be in serious trouble.
The overall changes to the games, I think, of her A-list.
Okay,
almost the hardest.
Kano, Ryan. let's get into Kano.
There's
I
not
see
a laundry list of changes.
I see Cutthroat next to a lot of it, not gonna lie.
Meter Burn Ball hasn't got armor, and again, that's going to be an indirect buff to Sector once again. So his go-to armored reversal, which he would interrupt gaps with and get a full combo, that does not have armor anymore. Reduce the block stun of Multi-Blade, so Meter Burn Knife does not have, it's not, well, they've taken off the plus frames by 5, so that's not going to be his plus. Cutthroat fixed a bug, which would cause Kano to lose the first round if he had power-up charge, that's just a bug fix. Cutthroat, back 1 can no longer be cancelled when blocked and is now minus 15. That is exactly what you said. You were bang on the money right there, Jake. You said
I was indeed.
if Kano does his back 1, he'll get the combo 1 hit, but I'm fairly certain from that gift they demonstrated, why would Kano do the back 1 by itself? No Kano does that. We go, why are they doing that? But then the absolute thing we go is, well, hang on, why are they demonstrating it by itself? Has the Kano player got no choice but to do a raw back 1, when it's blocked? And you were bang on the money. I'm going to give you props for being right about that one. His charge up, his meat buff doesn't have armor. They've taken the armor away, so it's not going to have parry properties. Power up charge has 10 more recovery frames, so he's not going to be as plus on the charge as he used to be. Back 1, 2-1 is now minus 10 on block. I'm guessing if that connects in the neutral, probably. So basically just nerfing some of his safety. He's not safe at all anymore. Cybernetic Eye Blast no longer has armor and is now plus 4 on block. So he's going to have plus 4, and it's going to recover quicker. So I think that's going to be quite an interesting change for Cybernetic. And Commando is he is covered in 2-hit armor.
No, Ryan, you actually skimmed over quite a significant change to Cutthroat. His back 1 cannot be cancelled on block, and is minus 15. So his back 1 can't be special cancelled. Back 1-2 is again by itself unsafe, but is punishable. But can be cancelled. But again, now we know that the meter burn buff up has more recovery frames, so you won't be able to just go into meter burn buff to make something plus or continue pressure from it. It also doesn't gel into meter burn knife toss. So what these changes mean is
these are massive together, actually. Yeah.
Kane and the full string, the back 1-2-1 is now minus 10 on block.
This is why I'm not a Kano player. I probably should have let you read these ones.
So what this means is there is nothing Kano can do from the overhead to make himself safe. If he spends bar, all he's going to do is let you neutral crouch him. Because all he's going to be able to do is meter burn knife toss, and you're going to be able to neutral crouch that first knife and full combo punish him. So Kano's overhead, in every sense of the word, no matter where he ends it, no matter what he cancels it into, unless he turns back 1-2 or back 1-2-1 into meter burn up ball for a bar, is going to be completely punishable. And if he does up ball, he's going to be right in your face. So Cutthroat took a big hit here. He's still going to have really high damage, still going to have crazy corner combos and conversions. He's still going to have the armored up ball, but he's lost a lot. He's lost a lot of utility.
Now, if you want defense, you can go Commando and then be covered in 2-hit armor. That's the direction, I think. Kenshi.
It does seem to be that way.
Kenshi and Kitana up next, two of the most changed characters. Kenshi first. Many changes to his strings and normals to make more of them useful, basically. So his back 2, recovery reduced by 5 frames. His forward 4, like his big leg, is now more plus on block, so it's like a true big leg. A couple of his strings have had combo scaling adjustments, they do more damage. Now, Blade Nado is now plus 47 on hit, up from plus 42. I can't remember what that string actually is off the top of my head, but I'm sure I'll remember it when I see it. Sword Dance is now minus 7, so a bit more safe. Now the balance changes. Balance is pretty much almost the one that's been touched the most. Spirit Push is now minus 10, so it's going to be much safer on block. The regular push is much safer. The meter bend version of that, Spirit Charge, has 2 hits of armor, and Paulo mentioned it's actually plus on block, so it recovers quicker and is plus 3 on block, so he's not going to pressure anything for free, but it's definitely not unsafe by any stretch of the imagination. Telekinetic Slice and Telekinetic Slash have 4 less recovery frames on miss, so that's going to be really good for him, in that if they miss the opponent, they're going to recover quicker, so he's not going to be as punishable. Telekinetic Slash has different reaction and can allow for combos afterwards. I believe that is the meter burn overhead, so that's going to pop the opponent up from full screen, as I mean to punish neutral crouching of the Teleflurry, and you can now pop them up and combo them. Fixed a bug which will cause Teleflurry to hit regions. Yeah, that's a bug fix. Karma Eruption. The meter burn Rising Karma no longer has armor and is safe on block, but his armored launcher is gone, again to maintain consistency, but his reversal is going to come from the push now. So on hit, knock him full screen, in combination with the stamina changes will benefit balanced extremely well, I think. Karma Eruption recovers 10 frames faster on miss. Yeah, so basically it's safer, but it hasn't got armor, so you got to watch out. Possessed, there's quite a few here. Demonic Slice and Soul Charge now have 2 hits of armor, again just giving him some armor. Sickle Strike no longer has armor and is now 0 on block, so it's safe, but again it's lost its armor. Another change, just like balanced. Soul Charge is now +3, up from -9. That's really decent. And adjust hit regions of Demonic Slice. Yeah, so just a couple of hitbox fixes. Now the Kenjutsu ones I'm interested. Tele-Suspend no longer has armor. Ooh, he hasn't got the armor on his stun. So his armor is going to come from other means. He's not going to get the guaranteed stun, which used to be a fantastic anti-air. But he might be able to anti-air with the system changes. And the Teleblast, which I believe is his push, now has 2 hits. So he has, the push still has 2 hits of armor, but the stun does not have armor anymore. So again, it's consistency, but that's going to affect his ability to anti-air, I think, to a degree. It depends on how easy he can anti-air with like down 2 or something. But yeah, we've got Kitana next, who I think, yeah, she's had quite a few as well.
So, my word, that is quite a bunch. Her back 2, her overhead, is now 18 frames instead of 25, so sped up overhead. Might still be able to react to it. 18 frames is kind of like the grey area of frames, whether people can react to it or not, but regardless, faster overhead. Increase the range on her forward 2, which is cool. Basically just a bunch of changes on some of her normals and specials, so some moves are a bit safer on block, some are a bit more advantageous, which is good for her. You can no longer cancel your uppercut, your down back 2, into regular air specials on hit. You have to meter burn them. So you can turn your meter burn you can turn your meter burn reversal and your down back 2 into a air special move if you meter burn it. So you still have an armored launcher with Kitana if you spend 2 bars and go meter burn uppercut into meter burn fan toss in the air. So an expensive reversal, but she is one of the few characters in the game that still has that, it seems. Again, for Royal Storm, some recovery has been sorted out for some of her specials in the air. Square Wave has 2 hits of armor, so awesome air contention there, which is good for her.
Her Throat Slice as well also has 2 hits of armor.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like just generally, she's had some new patch improvements across the board. Royal Storm, more pushback on her fan nado and her meter burn fan nado. Her back punch, back kick is now -1 on block instead of -11, which is cool. And Assassin Impale has 2 hits of armor as well. And Mournful, Staff Smash, and Eclipse Kick have 2 hits of armor. And her Glaive has 1 more damage on it. So overall, some really nice improvements for Kitana. Hopefully this helps her out. I know Sonic Fox has already been saying he's going to go in on playing Kitana again, which is cool. Kotal Kahn has had some significant changes.
We were just talking about this actually earlier on at work. We were talking, what if they make Kotal Kahn's back 1 a high? That'd be quite interesting. And they've gone and done it. Kotal Kahn's back 1 is still an advancing 9-frame normal, but it is no longer a mid that will crush almost anything in the game. They've changed it. It is a high. You can now neutral crouch it. You can now poke him if he does it. What this means is that Kotal Kahn, instead of being able to just chuck back 1 out without having to really think about it like he could before, he now has to make the choice of, if I think I'm going to go for something because you're going to press a string or something, you have the benefit of the 9-frame high. But if you want to go for a mid to crush something, you now have to commit to a forward 1 instead, which is slower. You cover similar space, but it is slower. It means that if you want to crush something with a mid and be safe completely, you have to do forward 1-2, which is not special cancelable. So you're not going to get much reward on hit, but you are going to be safe. If you want to commit, you now have to do forward 1 back 2 cancelled into something, because by itself it's unsafe, and if you're playing War God, there is a gap off anything. After forward 1 back 2 into a sword, there is a gap off anything you try and do there. So if you want to do a mid now, you have just as much of a right to, just nowhere near as safe. They've changed some of his other moves. Sunstone now 0 on block, down from +5. Burning Sunstone, I'm assuming that's a meter burn, is now +6, down from +15. And his forward 1 is now -2 on block to be safer. So what they've done is they've made his forward 1 a better mid, but that's because his back 1 is not as good. So the big one, I think, Blood God, the Obsidian Totem, is not up for anywhere near as long as it was before. So it's not going to be as easy for him to sit there with the same totem. War God has taken the brunt of the changes, and I'm assuming it's because of the change of the reversal system. So his overhead sword smash no longer has armor, so that's still going to be a 50-50, but he's not going to have a launching reversal. His other sword attacks do have two hits. Sword toss took quite a big hit, and that is not as plus, is now plus 13. Down from plus 18, and the meter bend version of that is plus 10, down from plus 20. It's going to massively hurt his jailing because he's not going to be able to throw out the back 1-2-2 into it anymore like he could before, because it's not as plus, and the higher chance of you poking out because there's pushback on the spinning sword, and now you can low poke him because back 1 is a high. This was a big hit for War God, I think. And the only other change was that his meter bend grab in Sun God has 2 hits of armor. Very, very straightforward.
Again, you'll pick Sun God for the armor, War God you'll pick for the 50-50s, but they're not armored, and he doesn't have the launcher. So Kung Lao has had a very, very good patch.
We'll just talk about. We're not going to go into all the string stuff. Basically, what Paolo said is that they are changing some of the frames on his strings and normals to make more of his moveset used, and that's basically it. You can do the maths there. We can talk about the variation stuff. Apart from the meter bend teleport having 2 hits of armor and the meter bend spin losing its armor, 2 big changes. But the big stuff they talked about really, I think, was the variation stuff and the changing of his reversals. If you want to go into that.
Yes. So Kung Lao, some improvements to his strings, some they referred to it as cleaning up a bunch of his moves, so which is good for him. And obviously, armor being weaker across the board now means gaps in strings shouldn't be as much of a bad idea to go to. So that's going to be good for Lao. Tempest, no armor on meter bend spin. That's just the only change to Tempest. Buzzsaw, all hat projectiles have increased damage by 1. His upward buzzsaw on the way down now hits overhead. His upward grinder now recovers faster. His low grinder pushes back further on block. His low buzzsaw has 5 less block stun frames, which is going to make it easier to punish, I suppose. Hat grinder and buzzsaw now both recover faster as well. Hat Trick adjusted the hit regions on his Hatterang and callback to hit more consistently, so some quality of life changes on Hat Trick and makes it easier to combo after callback and heavy callback. So overall, Kung Lao has had a really good time, aside from the spin losing armor. Now, one thing, it says Cyclone no longer has armor and Kung Lao Vortex. Is Vortex spin across the board? I think Kung Lao's only armored move now might be the meter bend teleport. So he's going to have amazing rushdown, but his defense is going to take a big hit.
Vortex is the name of meter bend spin when he isn't Tempest, basically. Tempest has a different name.
Okay, we're getting through.
There's a lot to go over.
Kung Jin next. So added some recovery frames to cartwheel smash if it misses. Overhead has been slowed down. Ancestral, the low shot now fires faster. The quiver and activations now last longer than they used to. Frame data for arrow types are now shown more accurately. The fire arrows cause more block stun and have more pushback.
That's actually really good.
Yeah, so fire arrows and ancestral will now be more of a zoning tool, which is good. Vampiric arrows also do that. So ancestral has had a bit of a long range keep away increase and buff and stuff like that, and he stores arrows for longer, which is good for the stun arrow, I suppose. Bojutsu, again, some just general changes on recovery and stuff like that. No armor now on the bow strike, the spin, or the low bow spin, so a bunch of armor taken away from Bojutsu. Minus 12 on block though is bow swat now, and it does 7 instead of 9, so some, I guess some like subtle changes to Bojutsu, I suppose. The armor being taken away is a big thing, because that's kind of the main reason you'd pick Bojutsu, but I guess now the main reason you'll go to it is for that meterless launcher. Which,
I guess you're still going to be able to chuck 50-50 specials after everything, but...
Specials, yes, but now obviously not on the way out. Shaolin took some hits. Up kick and the rising strike are now basically fully punishable on block. However, you can now... there's a bit more of a mind game, but beforehand you could kind of just do whatever you wanted into the up smash, into the land, and you'd be relatively safe. Obviously you'd be minus, but still that gave a lot of people some issues. They've now made it fully punishable. But you can now not finish it and leave a gap, which is punishable. But if you leave a gap and they don't scout it, you're out. So there's kind of a bit of a mind game there now, I suppose, which is a different approach, but it's what they've done now. And also, low chakrang. So the low chakram now does not come back on block. So it's minus 5 on block, but it now doesn't come back. So Shaolin isn't going to be able to give that that 50-50, I suppose, now after the low boomerang. So basically just made Shaolin a bit more punishable. That's the short version. Leatherface.
Sure. Very minimal changes to Leatherface, if any. They've just adjusted some of his moves. So his down forward 4 no longer has armor. It used to be a launcher, but now it will still launch. You have to use it in combos. It doesn't have armor anymore. Low Grinder and Psycho Slash have 2 hits of armor. So 2 moves that would knock down now have 2 hits of armor. And the only other change was Butcher specifically, where Meter Burn down forward 2, which used to pop them up, doesn't have armor. It's still an overhead though, but I don't know how often it's going to hit someone unless you just chuck it at the end of something and you catch someone pressing buttons. Other than that, Leatherface is unchanged. Mechanically, they're just adjusting some of his reversals to fit the new theme of the game. Liu Kang has had a couple of changes. His down forward punch was down 1. He now has a 7 frame down 1 rather than a 9 frame one. His flying straight kick now has 2 hits of armor. Flame Fist. Now, there's been a couple of nerfs to the windmill flurries. The cancel window now starts 5 frames later. And away now hits overhead. Oh yeah, that's a couple of his Flame Fist specific strings. They were sections that used to hit mid and now they hit overhead. So there's going to be an element of mix-up where you go for the overhead ender or you go for a low shot. And there's a couple of strings mentioned there. Big change to Flame Fist, his windmill flurry. So his flurry of punches no longer has armor. So his main reversal and or counter poke, which would just blow through a lot of things on a read, does not have armor anymore. So it's going to be a bit riskier for him to go for those options. Dragon's Fire. Added 3 additional frames before you can dash cancel out of Dragon's Fire if the opponent's blocking, so they've nerfed his run cancels. That in combination with the mechanical changes to the stamina system is going to hurt Dragon's Fire kind of the same way it's going to hurt A-List. Liu Kang Duelist. This is an interesting one where activated Soul Spheres now do proximity damage to the opponent and it prevents them from running. So the red orbs will do damage over time and it will stop runs. Very important. Activated Soul Spheres can now be ignited. So it basically means that when you are in the light stance, you can detonate them. I'm not sure how viable this is going to be unless you can do something where you put it in front of an opponent and they try and go into it, and then maybe you can combo into changing stance or something. I don't know. There's a lot of setup there. Getting hit while charging. Yang will not activate the current level of the buff, and Solar Blast has 5 less frames of block stun and increase. Oh, they've actually nerfed his Solar Blast. That's 5 less frames of block stun. So I'm guessing that means it's more punishable on block if it's got less frames of block stun, unless I'm just an idiot and it's late at night and I'm tired. But other than that, Duelist has been... The orbs have been changed slightly, really. They don't seem to have been humongously changed. They've just been given a couple of extra properties that you can work with in combination with everything else that you can currently do.
Mileena, combo damage scaling across the board. That basically means she's now going to do less, so no more 35% off of every single touch. Her back 1 is now a high, so it starts up in 10 frames, so it's actually a lot faster than it used to be, but it is now a high. So if you think Mileena is going to run in and try and poke with that back 1, you're now going to be able to poke it with your down 4 or whatever hits low to now hit her out of that. Your normal roll you can still combo from, but her meter burn roll is still an overhead. However, now no longer recovers in time to juggle, so it actually just does 10% by itself. However, you can now enhance the meter burn attack to then juggle after it. So if you want to get that armored reversal with Mileena, you need to spend 2 bars on it. So she's still going to have that 50-50, but you now have to spend 2 bars on that 50-50. And if it hits and you don't burn it, you only get 10% for your big risk because it's still super punishable on block. Piercing now, yep, I guess that's it. Yeah, it's listed twice, but yes, back 1 now hits high. So no changes to Ethereal or Ravenous. Basically just look to hit Piercing, but obviously the roll change universally is going to hit Ethereal and Ravenous quite hard, but seems to be there to sort of tone down Piercing a bit. Predator, his down 2 -4 on block instead of -6, and hit region adjustment. They did mention they were buffing a lot of down 2s, and I guess this might be an example of that. Scimitar Slam no longer bounces the opponent up, so again, no armored launcher on Scimitar Stab, but you can enhance to juggle. So you can meter burn the meter burn to make it launch. Warrior, his Dread launch now has 11 frame startup instead of 13, and is -6 on block. And it's +6 on block. Okay, cool. So the Dread launch has been improved. Now has 2 hits of armor, but doesn't allow. So it's +6 on block, but now doesn't launch, which is a change. Basically, yeah, a bunch of Warrior changes here, it seems. So, is this a string away?
They've buffed his self-destruct too, so his
Oh,
self-destruct
okay.
recovers
I
5 frames
see.
faster.
Yeah, so basically, just some general buffs to all of Warrior's variation-specific stuff, I suppose. Hunter, the trap and snag now damage scales properly when done twice, and removed the recovery frames. Oh, removed 19 recovery frames from medkit and quick healing. So Hunter has a self-heal buff and damage scaling fixes on the trap, and Warrior gets some buffs to its universal, variation-specific moves. Quan Chi, oh
up
my word.
next. He's been changed a little bit. To his forward, that's his towards forward punch. I can't even remember. It's so late at night. Forward punch is 2 or 1. I can't even remember. Either way, his towards forward punch is now -5 on block, +9 on hit, significantly more than it was before, and it has 20 recovery frames down from 28. It's forward punch, back kick, back punch. That's basically some of his other streams are being changed from the looks of this. So it's his forward 1. Excuse me, it's quite late at night. This is going on longer than I expected. My brain's not with it. So his back 2 hits mid. This was a big change to him. He's not going to have the range of an overhead he had before. So if you charge the back 2 fully and it pops up, that still hits overhead. So he's still going to have that hard to blockable in summoner, but it's more of a ranged mid now rather than a ranged overhead. The change though is this forward 4 now hits overhead. So he's still got an element of a 50-50. He's just not going to have the range he had before that. So it's going to come from the forward 4 instead, which is point blank and slower than back 2. So it is going to be easier to react to. Oh, this is a big change though. Rune Trap, ROP and Pepperoni. Demon Skull, Meterbone Skull is now +6 on block, which is down from +16. So some Sorcerer no longer has a Rune Trap. I mean, like there is nothing left that can give Sorcerer a loopable Rune Trap. It just doesn't exist anymore. Meterbone Skull being +6 means that's not going to happen. Sorcerer, bug fix. Sometimes when you got hit by the trance, you would try and activate, basically, and it wouldn't... if you're a Sorcerer, it wouldn't activate properly. Like the timer would continue to go, so you'd activate it after losing it, and then you'd still get hit, and it was really weird. The only other thing they changed universally was catching someone in a really high trance would not keep plus frames. So the Meatless Vortex is probably well and truly gone. The big changes came to Warlock. They adjusted the Portal Slam. His scoop doesn't have armor anymore. They fixed a bug with him as well. But the big deal is that his Portal Stab, the down forward 2, has 3 hits of armor. So that's a lot of armor for him to have, to be fair. So you're definitely going to pick Warlock for the armor, really and truly. Having 3 hits of that is incredibly useful. It's safer on block, 11 less recovery frames, so it's probably more intended to be used also probably to punish projectiles, I would say too. You can probably punish projectiles with that anywhere on screen and get something, which is pretty neat. We have Raiden up next.
It's taking very, very long. Very, very long. I didn't think it would take us this long.
It is, isn't it? Oh, my days.
This
is well over an hour.
Yeah, Raiden. Okay, cool. So +2 on block is 4/4 now, so -5, and now can be special cancelled. I don't really understand Raiden too much at a high level, so a lot of this is going to be new to me. But his down 4 is now -4 on block, and adjusted the hit region. Vicinity Blast has 2 hits of armor, hits mid, and is -2 on block instead of 0. Does 9 damage up from 5, and no longer knocks down.
Buffed his reversal. You can't just freely neutral crouch him and wake up like
Vicinity Blast no longer knocks down. I wonder what the use for that is going to be. Now does 8 damage and has 10 less recovery frames. Electrocute and Shocker now hit mid, so it's not going to be high anymore. That's good. Thunderstrike and Shocker both no longer have armor. Thunderfly.
It's juggles for sure, using them in juggles.
His Superman dive is Thunderfly and it has 2 hits of armor, so that's going to be like you press a button and that hits you, you're going to be in the corner. 2 hits of armor, which is good for him. And Air and Ground now recover faster on this, so not as whiff punishable. Master of Storms, the recovery is more consistent on the traps. Static Trap passive damage is now up a little tiny bit. Static Trap now activates 2 frames faster than it used to, and the full trap also activates a bit faster. I'm not really quite sure what that's going to do to Master of Storms. It looks like the universal changes are actually a lot better. I can actually see Displacer getting a lot of use out of these. especially Thunder God with the latest discovery with the meter burn Thunderball, as it were, especially now that the armored launchers have gone. Reptile, Acid Spit now starts up 1 frame quicker. Bit of an interesting change though, I don't quite understand that one. Acid Puddle now stops you from running in, so for a bar you can now basically give yourself Eron Black Caltrops and they can't run in, so if you want to play from a longer range you now can do that a little bit more reliably. Like the GIF shown, Claw Pounce no longer juggles afterwards, and Claw Slash no longer has armor. Slide, however, now has 2 hits of armor and is a little bit less advantageous on hit, but still plus 37, so I can still see that being alright. And also Deceptive no longer has armor and invisibility, so you're going to pick these variations for their mad utility, but universally have the 2 hits of armor on the slide, which is good.
Yeah, Scorpion next, minimal changes. I won't be honest.
Minimal but significant,
I
it
kind
seems.
of expected Inferno to get a couple of buffs, but it didn't really. Scorpion, his teleport does not have armor on wake up anymore, but it's taken.
You say that? No, you say that. Inferno, Minion Slam is +2 on block instead of -21, and his Strike is now +3 on block, up from -27.
I'm guessing there's still a gap though. There's always a gap where
Probably.
you do them, where you can poke him and whatnot. But his Meteor Man teleport doesn't have armor anymore. His only reversal is the slide. 2 hits of armor on that is decent, but it's the only one you're going to have to go for now. No changes to Ninjutsu added to. Yeah, they've nerfed the run cancel on Hellfire slightly, and Inferno now has +2 on block, Minion Slam, and Minion Strike now +3 on block. So he's going to have some element of pressure, but it's probably not going to be massively significant unless it's, I don't know, maybe it has some kind of whiff relevance, I'm not sure. But either way, very minimal changes to Scorpion. Shinnok is up next. He's had a couple of changes.
Yes, so again, Shinnok's forward 3 is now a little bit faster. Much better on block and now hits further forward. So forward 3 is a little bit better across the board. Hell Sparks is now, when you meet by Hell Sparks, is now +5 on block instead of +14 and has reduced pushback. So Hell Sparks are nowhere near as good as they used to be. Meter Burn Shoulder now has 2 hits of armor and no longer does the ground burst automatically. Instead, you can now enhance the end for another bar and make it launch. Amulet Strike covers that doesn't recover as bad on whiff now, and is much better on lock. But the problem is Amulet Strike. Its problem was always the startup. You can't react with Amulet Strike to a projectile and absorb it. It was always going to hit you out. So I can't see that being too significant, but it's there. Imposter. Mimicry no longer gives you anyway near as much hit advantage as you used to have. So no more can you do like Imposter Mimicry, whiff the move on purpose, and then get a full jump in tricky portal mix up into 50-50. You have to be super quick now. Judging by what we saw, it doesn't even look like you get a guaranteed enough time to do like a run into the overhead. So I don't think Imposter actually has the Vortex potential anymore if he gets a loopable special. I assume he'll still be able to guarantee his low because it's so fast, but I don't see the overhead being guaranteed, so we're going to have to wait and see how that pans out. It's +17 on hit instead of a +104, so that's like a big old change. Bone Shaper, Scepter Launch no longer has armor, so Meteor Burn Scoop no longer has armor to it. Dark Beam is now a little bit better on block and has increased pushback. Dark Blast, so Meteor Burn Dark Beam is now 0 on block and has increased pushback. And Necromancer Devil Flick increased pushback, and Judgment Fist can now be dash cancel out of. So if you're going to try and bait them in with the Judgment Fist, the unblockable, you can now cancel out of it. So if you want to bait a charge or something, you can now dash cancel to try and bait it, and how that works. Sonya had a couple of changes. Honestly, not as much changes as I think people expected.
Yeah,
but she did get a couple of things.
Yeah, they've adjusted her overhead so it's slower. So her overhead is slower, and the overhead string, there is a gap in between the overhead and the low kick. Leg slam now has 2 hits of armor, so her reversal leg grab basically, that's now got 2 hits of armor. No changes to cover ups. The changes were only given to demolition. So apart from the universal overhead change, which she was given, she can no longer combo into multiple of the same grenade. She can combo into multiple grenades, but they've got to be different ones. So Sonya's going to have to convert off her combo slightly differently. If she catches you with a wayward stun grenade, she's only going to be able to hit you with the explosive grenade, which has more knockback than the stun one does, and combining that with how much more stamina costs for running, her ability to convert and combo massively are going to be greatly affected by this change, I think. Other than that, it looks like they've also nerfed her wake up, the reversal explosion. It's
doesn't recover as quickly.
Yeah, it hit region Sub-Zero, and it's
Sub-Zero got some sick changes though. Sub-Zero's got some good ones.
He's had, oh my god, he's got so many.
His forward 1 now starts up in 10 frames instead of 15, and is a mid, so that's good. His forward 1-2 is now -2 on block instead of +2. His down 2 now starts up in 7 frames instead of 9, so a really... No, that's a down 1. His down 1 is now 7 frames, not 9, sorry. His icy slide now has 2 hits of armor, which is good across the board.
You are not armor breaking that anymore.
Yeah, you're not armor breaking that slide. Frost Bomb doesn't have armor anymore, and has less recovery frames. Ice Burst is now -5 on block. Down 2 now, yep, one more for one faster startup frame, which is pretty good for it. Fixed a bug where an opponent would drop out of a frozen reaction if you blocked an attack on the same frame, which is another one of those weird stun bugs, I suppose. Cryomancer is where the bulk of these changes lie. His grab now does the same damage animation as the other variations, but you actually have the old Cryomancer grab ender as a command grab now, and you can still 2-in-1 cancel it. So the grab by itself does like 5%, but you can still turn it into the Meteor Burn Hammer to launch and get a full combo for it. We don't know how much that would do, so we don't know how significant that will be, but Cryomancer has faster mids and a command grab, which could be very, very powerful for it. Unbreakable, Barrier of Ice, so that the parry now recovers a lot faster. Meteor Burn is really, really, really fast on recovery for a parry. And you have more pushback on Ice Burst or Frost Bomb when you've got the aura. And this also means that Unbreakable Sub-Zero is one of the few characters in the game that has a 1-bar armored reversal with slide if you've got the aura on. So that's going to be something very, very good for Unbreakable. But one nerf to Grandmaster, and that's Meteor Burn Clone no longer has armor, which against some characters could be very, very important.
Yeah, that was many changes, but I'm very excited to see what happens to
We're nearing the end with 3 characters left.
Takeda, combo damage scaling adjustment, so he's not going to do as much damage. His forward 1, -24 on block, so it's going to be more unsafe. It might adjust the plus frames on certain parts of Ronin 2. His Meteor Burn Tornado Strike has not got armor anymore. Fist Whirlwind has 2 hits of armor and no longer automatically launches. So his back forward 2 has 2 hits of armor, but it does not launch by itself. You can spend a bar to launch and then spend 2 bars. So it's basically you spend a bar to get the Meteor Burn back forward 2, and then you spend a second bar to get the launch if you see it connected. It's a 2-bar reversal. Very, very expensive. Oh wow, so his Meteor Burn Kunai, 10 less blocks on frames and reduced pushback, so it's going to be easier to deal with. His yeah, they're basically nerfing almost everything when it comes to his damage and some of his range, and Meteor Burn Kunai have all been downgraded right there. Shiroryu phase no longer has armor, so yeah, he hasn't got the armored teleport in Shiroryu. Lasher, Whip Flurry now has 2 hits of armor and no longer automatically launches the opponent. So if it's basically the same thing as his back forward 2, it's just the Lasher version. So it's got 2 hits of armor, but you've got to spend the bar to launch them. Ronin, his is that back 2? Yes, his back 2 has been given 5 startup frames, much easier to react to right there. Adjusted the hit region of his back 1, so his back 1 does not go as far either. I'm assuming it's still a mid though, but it's not going to have as much range as it did. His back 1-1 used to be 0, now it's -2, so it's not going to be as good of a stagger. His blade summon does not have armor, so cooling the blade when it's on the floor, situational I know, but it does not have armor anymore, so that's not even going to be an issue. And there's 5 additional recovery frames to quick cool. So basically it means that in combination with the regular strings not being as plus, and Ronin's quick cool having 5 additional recovery frames added, Ronin is not going to be as free as it was, including the fact that a lot of his main tools are slower as well and have less range. Very good changes. I would like to have seen the flip kick being unsafe, but I'm not sure if that's listed in the new moveset or whether it's just that's the way it is. But yeah, Takeda's had those changes.
Now, the Tanya changes, I'm a little bit, again, a bit like Raiden, I don't really know too much about Tanya, so I'm not going to know. Yeah, I'm basically just going to read these off and you guys can sort of discuss this if you want. More combo damage scaling and adjustments and increases, so I'm not sure, that could mean a bit of both, you know, some things might do more damage, some things might do less. Meteor Burn Drill no longer has armor, so she doesn't have the armored launcher anymore either, but it still launches, so I don't know, maybe you'll still get the 50-50 with that wherever there's an overhead, so that could still be decent. A bug fix removed 5 recovery frames from teleports, so teleports are a little bit better now. Ton for Strike has armor again,
oh, they've given us some armor.
but one hit. Ton for Swipe can no longer be delayed, so again, like the Tarkatan things, the Wreckers can no longer be delayed, so you've still got the armor on the Wrecker, but you can't delay them anymore, so you're going to be a bit easier to punish. Spinning Kick has a hit of armor on Dragon Naginata, and a bunch of Pyromancer changes. Devil Dust now has 2 hits of armor and does more damage.
It's
Dark Shroud does more damage. Air
Fireball
does more damage. Fireball does more damage, Surging Blast does more damage, and Surging Blast now does more damage. So across the board, Pyromancer has 2 hits of armor, in comparison to the other 2 variations, and does more damage with all the projectiles. Last character, Tremor.
A 6-frame forward one. So his back one was his mid. Everyone always said he needed a faster mid, and it looks like they've given him one.
A 14-frame mid.
Yeah, Tremor now has
not bad.
14-frame back one. His down one has an 8-frame down one. His forward two has 26 startup frames, down from 30. There's +2 on block. His towards back kick, I'm guessing that's a big leg or something like that. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
It is a mid kick.
Yeah, so it's going to be some sort of a big leg. Yeah, so they've kind of given him the Jax treatment, where when he goes for meter burn stone, he cannot do the launching version if the armor is hit. He will only be able to cancel into the knockdown straight version if the armor is connected, just like Jax. So he's going to lose the armored reversals. Anything that would launch, as you can see, Crystalline, Crystal Blast has no armor. Magma, Gold Launch in Metallic has no armor as well. Anything that would launch the opponent does not have armor anymore, but will still launch them. But the things that would just cause a knockdown do have armor. It's just a very elaborated way of describing all of those changes, because his variations had different moves that did very similar things. The final character is Triborg. We're going to read them out, but I mean, we've done an entire video on our thoughts on this character if you guys want to check that. Long story short, Triborg across the board, some of his normals were nerfed. Cybersub benefited greatly from the fact that back 1 and forward 1-3 have increased hit stun, which basically means that he's probably going to be able to do meterless ice ball off those again. And the variations were given 2 hit armored reversals. So Cybersub, his slide, meter burn slide, has 2 hits of armor. Sector's flame burner has 2 hits of armor. Cyrax's teleport has 2 hits of armor. And interestingly, there's been no changes to smoke because his reversal was the invincible dash away. Other than that, Sector's zoning is now a bit better because the missiles are safer and there's more pushback on the flame burner, so he's going to zone better. Cyrax has surprisingly had basically no changes here, which is very surprising.
It's more bug fixes than changes. Meterburn Teleport has 2 hits of armor now, which will help him against certain characters off the ground. However, it's going to be harder to mix characters because of the amount of moves in the game now that have 2, sometimes 3 hits of armor. But across the board, it seems everyone's going to have that armor change to deal with, so no one's going to be getting ridiculous damage for armor anymore, so that's not too much of a problem.
And the
but
final change, the final change, Smoke Bomb does not have a hitbox above the ground. So if you jump as he throws it, you will actually jump straight over it and you won't get caught and you can punish him. So that's the final change we're going to list right here. That was a long...
That took so much longer than I thought it would. Good lord.
We a lot of this patch note, we were reading it for the first time, and I did not expect this. This is... Every character in the game was changed in some way.
Well, you guys can't say we're not thorough.
Probably the most thorough I think we're ever going to be.
On that note, guys, thanks for watching. Let's get some discussions going in the comments. We're going to be doing a ton of videos on this patch of the game when it goes live.
Oh, but, so many.
We wanted to get this out there, start some discussion. Let us know what you think. Let's get some good talks going, because this is going to be a very, very different game as of tomorrow. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you guys many times in the coming weeks.
Bye.